Alright, today we're going to be talking about the Native Americans of Mississippi. We're going to be learning about the different Native American tribes that lived in Mississippi. So first, we're going to watch a video. But what I want you to do is I'm going to give you the sheet. And while you're watching the video, I want you to write down something that you have learned. So while the video is playing, I want you to write down something that you noticed or something that you learned about some of the Native Americans.
What's in the bag?
Cherokee. Alright, so look at your paper. Do you see the L at the bottom of your paper? What I learned. That's what you're going to write, what you learned about while we're watching the video. So I'm only going to play it one time, so you have to pay close attention what the video is talking about. So while the video is playing, I want you to write down one thing that you learned about the Native Americans.
Who's ready to hatch some cool pets? Click here to make your very own
Native Americans. Do you know who the first people to live in America were? People think it was Christopher Columbus and his crew. Others think it was European settlers or people that came to live here from Europe. But it was actually the Native Americans. Native means they were born in America, though it wasn't called America at the time. This was long before it became the United States. They were here much earlier than Columbus. When Columbus discovered America and its people, he named the people Indians because he thought he was in India. You may have heard other people call them Indians too. The correct term for how we refer to them is Native Americans. The Native Americans lived in both North and South America, including Alaska and Hawaii. There were different tribes and cultures who lived in different parts of the country. A tribe usually consisted of families or communities that spoke the same language and had common beliefs. They also shared the same customs or traditions. Some well-known tribes include the Cherokee, Apache, Cheyenne, Iroquois, the Ute Nation, and Navajo Nation. There were many other tribes as well. Each tribe has its own type of home, foods they ate, tools, clothing, and more. The tribes are no different than people across the world today who have their own cultures and customs. Most historians believe the tribes were quite peaceful before the arrival of Columbus and other Europeans. Native Americans designed their homes according to the weather and area where they lived. A teepee was built using long poles for the frame or structure. The poles were tied together in a bundle at the top. Each of the legs or poles was then spread out, creating a large circle at the bottom. The poles were then wrapped with buffalo hide to protect the people from the weather and to keep them warm. The teepees could easily be taken down and put back up again, making it the perfect house for people who moved a lot. A wigwam was about 8 to 10 feet tall. Like the teepee, it was also made from wooden frames. These frames were covered with sheets of bark from a birch tree. Native Americans also used birch bark to cover canoes because it was waterproof and strong. It was also used for other things like baskets. A wigwam was more rounded than a teepee. Some wigwams were covered with grass. Those were called grass houses. Grass houses were much larger than a wigwam. A longhouse was a permanent home. Unlike the teepee, it was not moved from place to place. It was built from wood and bark in the shape of a rectangle. Holes were created in the roof to allow air to escape. There were doors on both ends of the house, similar to many houses today. Tall poles from trees were curved and then used to create the roof. These houses were also covered with bark. Long houses were about 80 feet long and 18 feet wide and could hold about 20 people. A pueblo was a home built right into the side of a cliff, which is why it was also called a cliff dwelling. These homes were built of bricks made from clay. They sometimes were built inside of caves. Some pueblos were 4 or 5 stories high. Ladders were used to go from floor to floor. These houses could hold many people. Some other types of Native American homes were wattle and daub, plank house, igloo, and chickee. The materials used to build homes depend on where the tribes lived and what was available to use. The clothing that the Native Americans wore were also different from tribe to tribe. If an area where Native Americans lived was warm like Arizona, then less clothing was worn because of the heat. In contrast, if it was a cold area like Alaska, clothing was layered for warmth. A common material for clothing was animal skins. The soft leather of the animal hides was used for shoes as well as covering for some of their homes. Plants and cotton were also used for clothing. Native Americans used the resources around them, like plants, bark, and roots, to create dye. They used the dyes to color their clothing, baskets, mats, and other items. Many tribes hunted buffalo or caribou for food, as well as deer and rabbits. Fishing was widely used to provide food for villages that were close to rivers or streams. Spears, nets, and fish traps were made to catch the fish. In cold regions like Alaska, ice fishing was common. A small hole was cut into the ice and long spears were used to catch the fish. Farming was important to many of the tribes, especially in warmer climates. Main crops included corn, beans, and squash. Native Americans created many beautiful works of art. Pottery is the process of using clay to create handmade pieces. These works of art were not only beautiful, but very useful. Pottery was used to store grain and other foods. It was also used to collect water. Colorful baskets, blankets, and carvings such as totem poles or sculptures carved into large tree trunks were created. Some tribes, like the Navajo and Pueblo, were famous for sand paintings. Native Americans also had traditions which included religious and other ceremonies. Stories, music, dancing, games, and sports were enjoyed. Like every people and culture in the world, the Native Americans lived, worked, and played based on their beliefs and customs.
All right, does everyone have their name on their sheet that I gave you? If you would, pass it up to the front for me. Yeah, you're supposed to write down what you learned while you were watching the video. If you have it done, go ahead and pass it up to the front for me. Just write a short sentence and something that you learned about it. It's okay. Is your name on yours? No, you're just going to write what you learned. That's okay. I just wanted you to write down just what you learned from the video. It's okay. All right, do I have everybody's paper? Right there. Now I do. Okay. So I'm going to ask you some questions from the video. Remember, I told y'all I have magical powers. Yes, I do. So I have magic stickers. And if you participate and raise your hand and give me a good answer, you're going to get a sticker. So if you raise your hand and I call on you and you say oogly boogly, are you going to get a sticker? No.
Yeah, because you raised your hand, though.
I know, but it wasn't the correct answer. So some of these questions are going to be from your notes that you've been studying for your 9 weeks exam. So tell me, what are the 3 types of Native Americans that live in Mississippi? Braden?
Choctaw, Cherokee, and Chickasaw.
Chickasaw?
Or
You got a few of them right. Help him out, Chase.
Natchez.
Natchez?
Well, it says in the name.
Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez. So Chase, you get a sticker because you said 1. Braden, you get a sticker because you said 2 of them. Great job. All right. Who were the first Americans and how do you know that, Franklin?
The Native Americans, and they explained it in the video we just watched.
But how do you know they were the first Americans? You get a sticker because you said Native Americans, but how do we know they were the first Americans, Braxton?
Because of history.
Because of history.
Oh, my ear.
Because there's lots of evidence showing that they were the first Americans. So what does the word history mean? Who knows what the word history means? Drake, tell me, what does history mean? Yes. So the word history means it can be used to describe past events that are kept in written records. What types of homes did the Native Americans build? Levi?
They built with tents and
Not tents. They're called teepees. What else? Longhouse. Igloos. Good job. Okay. So the types of homes they built were teepees, wigwams, hut, and igloos. What did they build these homes out of? What are some things that they used to build these homes out of? Trinity?
wood.
Something that comes from animals. Hides. They could use pine straw. Okay. So they built some of their homes out of sticks, grass, mud, or animal hides. What was their main crop that they planted? Tell me, Jesse. Corn. Yes.
I thought there were 2.
Well, there's one main one that they planted. So were all the Native American tribes the exact same? Shake your head and tell me. No. Why weren't they not the same though?
Because they had different cultures.
They had different cultures. All right. Y'all might not know this. The video didn't talk about it. But remember, some of the Native Americans were forced to move away from their land. So what was the trail called that the Native Americans had to take when they were forced to move away from their land? Cherokee?
The Trail of Tears.
Trail of Tears. Yes. Yes. All right, so what type of weapons did some of the Native Americans have? Grayson, tell me. They had spears? What else?
I got one.
What else? Lily?
Bows.
Bows.
They're like
All right. Luke?
animal bones as like weapons.
Yes.
Oh, I know one.
Yes. Avery?
I know one.
Tell me, Gatlin?
More gloves.
Yes. Who have I not given a sticker to?
Can I just answer? Franklin.
Paxton, tell me.
Smells like cardboard.
Okay, here's a different question. What were some of the weapons made out of? Bones. Okay. Listen, some of the weapons that they had were arrows, arrowheads, and sometimes they would take the shoulder blade bone out of animals and sharpen it up.
I was going to say that.
All right, listen. Why do you think it is important for us to learn about Native Americans? Why is it important for us to learn about their culture and how they lived? Raise your hand. Who have I not called on? I think I've kind of called on everybody. Jacob? So we can what? Why is it important for us to learn about Native Americans? So we can know who we came from.
So we know our ancestors.
Yes, so we can know our ancestors. So they kind of help us. So learning about Native Americans helps us understand their culture and their history. So I have some things that I brought from home that I'm going to show y'all. Y'all are going to think I'm crazy. So tell me, everybody should know what this is. What is this? It's a turkey feather.
I have turkeys. I was going to say that. You kidnapped turkeys? You shoot turkeys? Did you kill a deer? I killed a deer.
Okay, so listen. How could some of the Native Americans use turkey feathers? How could they use it? Franklin?
For, like, if I know.
You kind of have to think about it. Braden, help him out. Decorations. Because remember, some of the Native Americans, they had different headbands that they wore. Avery.
They also use the tips for arrows.
What? Okay. They could use the tips for arrows. Bracklin.
They could use them for insulation.
They could. Okay.
What about houses?
So they could use them for clothing or accessories, or they can use them to make arrows. So you'll see I have what is this that I have in my hand? A deer antler. How do you think they could have used deer antlers? How could the Native Americans use them? Paxton? They could use them as tools. Jacob? A weapon. Levi?
To make, so they could actually get more of them to make deer calls.
Yes. So they sharpen the bones to make them into weapons for war or for hunting. So they could actually cut off this part of the antler or just sharpen it. They can make it into an arrow or a knife maybe.
They could also make it just to decoration.
They could. Okay. So here's another thing I have in my bag.
Were you a cow? That's a cow house.
I'm going to get to that. So what is this that I have?
Cow hide.
It's a cow hide. Now, some of the Native Americans probably use deer hides or buffalo hides, but I did not have that. So how could some of the Native Americans use animal hides? Raise your hand. Braden? For clothes and decorations, but there's something else. Think about teepees. Cherokee. They can make them into houses. They can use them to make their teepees. They could use them for clothing, for building homes, or they could be goods. They could trade these. So I could trade this hide to Hendrix, and Hendrix could give me some corn or some food or something else.
Trade with a pencil. I'll take it. You can have my phone.
So also I have something else for you guys.
I can tell it's for your house.
And this is very special to me because look at this picture up here. This was my grandpa, and he passed away a few years ago. And he actually, what is this that I have in my hand? He found these arrowheads in his own backyard. He found a bunch of them and gave them to us. So this is extra special to me. So how could the Native Americans use these arrowheads? Tell me, Gatlin.
Arrows.
To make arrows. Jesse?
Make a spear.
They can make a spear, Franklin.
To use it for decoration.
They could use it for decoration. So they are. So what is an arrowhead? Tell me, what is an arrowhead? It has something to do with an arrow. It's what, Lily?
It's the tip of the arrow that goes in the animal.
It's a sharp tip of the arrow.
Could it be like the tip of a spear?
It can be the tip of a spear.
It could be like
So actually, the Native Americans could use these arrowheads for war or for hunting or for decorations. So here's a fun fact. You see the picture of my grandpa right here? His mother, which is my great-grandmother, she was part Cherokee, and her name was Zora. Her name was Zora, and I never got to meet her, but they said she was a very smart and sweet lady. They said she could cook anything. Anything, and she was awesome. All right, so, we talked about teepees, right? So what you guys are going to do is you're going to make your own teepee. Listen. If we have some time later, I'll let you color them. You don't have to draw. We're just going to make them together.
Why can't we make it sound like words?
It's really easy.
Can we wear them as hats?
If we have time later, I will let you color them. Or you can put your stickers on them.
Well, I got a sticker. Well, I don't have to do that.
All right. So everyone, hold your teepee. Hold your teepee in the air. Hold it up in the air. Hold it in the air. So I want you to take the teepee and put the edges together and make like the cone shape. Make a cone shape with your teepee, and I'm going to come by and I'm going to staple it. So, we talked about teepees being a type of house that the Native Americans made. So how did they make these teepees? What were the teepees made out of? Animal hide. But how did they make the teepees stand up straight? Sticks. Now, when they made the teepees, how did the Native Americans move around when they had their teepees? They were easy to take down.
They could fold them.
They could fold them. So why do you think the Native Americans had to move around so much?
Because enemies.
Hunting. Okay, so how could the Native Americans, how would that help them with hunting? Them moving around so much.
Because the animals keep moving away. Because after they kill most of the animals, they gotta find more. Different animals are
So what were some of the animals that the Native Americans hunted?
Deer,
Buffalo.
Now,
Now, let me ask you this. Remember, we talked about natural resources. How did the Native Americans use natural resources?
by eating them.
How do you think they used? How do you think they used natural resources? Clothing.
Yeah.
Because once they killed an animal, did they just take the meat and just throw it away?
No, they took the meat, ate the bones, and used the hide.
And they used the hide.
And used the head for
So how did they use the hides of animals? How did they use the hides of animals? Decoration. Clothing.
Yeah, no hats on your head. No hats on your head.
So, listen. Stop.
Collaborate and listen.
I want you to imagine what your life would be like if you were a Native American and you had to live in a teepee. What would your life be like, Bracklin?
I would get to go hunting every day and make them do
Okay, Trinity? How do you think they kept warm in their teepees when it got really cold outside? The animal heads could keep them warm, but what about fires? Could they build a fire in their teepee?
No, not in the. Yes, in the. Yes.
They actually could, because remember, they use sticks to hold the teepees up. And your teepee, you'll notice it has a little space at the top.
Wait,
So whenever they built a fire, the smoke would have a way to come out of the teepee.
what if the hide burn up there and then the.
I don't know.
What if the hide burn? If people didn't think about fire, they.
All right. Listen. So now
I could make s'mores.
you could. So I want you to, when I give you this paper, I want you to put your name on it. Now remember, the video talked about totem poles. Y'all remember? It kind of talks about totem poles a little bit. What do you think totem poles are?
Eagle. Poles with eagle on a eagle.
Okay.
Turtle.
No, look at my picture on the board. What do you think? What do you think some of the totem poles were made out of? Alright, I need you to put your name on your paper and give me a thumbs up when you've got your name on it. Shh, 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 shh. I need your name on your paper, and when you have it on there, I need a thumbs up.
It's only hanging on by one.
Listen, shh, 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 shh. I need to see everybody's thumb. Everybody has their name on their paper? Good. Okay. So I want you to look at your paper. Do you see where it says the word totem? Put your finger there. So let's read about them. Totem poles are important for Native Americans, particularly those that lived in the Pacific Northwest. These poles are carved out of wood. The figures on them represent ancestors, major events, special animals, and family legends. In the box, design your own totem pole. Make sure it represents you and your interests. Then, in the writing space, describe your totem pole and explain how it describes you. So, do you see the box right here? The big white box? You're going to draw your own totem pole. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to draw the eagle. Just draw it to where it represents 3 things that you like. Like you can draw it like this.
That's the totem pole.
Watch. Watch me.
I'm drawing
And you can draw 3 things that you like.
I want to draw the eagle.
Once you have drawn your totem pole, I want you to write about why you chose these things for your totem pole.
This is going to be wild.
Give me at least 2 to 3 sentences.
You gotta picture the stuff that you like about it in the box.
can draw 3 things that you like. Like if you like football, you can draw football. No, you're supposed to draw it in your white space right here, and on the lines, I want you to tell me why you chose those 3 things. In the white box, draw your totem pole, and in the lines, you're going to write about why you chose that.
Hard to draw. You gotta draw that. You gotta draw that. You don't have to.
She said you don't. She said draw what represents you.
Draw 2 to 3 things that you like in your totem pole, and on the lines, you're going to write about why you chose those things. Yes,
I don't know how to draw photo.
it's fine. It does not have to be perfect.
Do we draw? I just copied what's on this. How did you do it so good?
But make sure you do your 3 blocks right here,
Let me see.
and then you draw your 3 things.
No, I'm doing an actual.
Put it on there.
Is it actual like?
Yeah, I don't know why I put the lines on. Wait, so we can do that?
Yes, you can do what I did.
My great grandma used to be Lao Cherokee.
Half Cherokee.
Yeah, Cherokee. Her name was Lao Cherokee.
When you're done, just raise your hand and I'll come get your paper. If you want to. I just need you to do 3 things. But if you want to do 4 and be extra, you can. You can draw your totem pole like mine and draw 3 things in little boxes. Or 4, and then tell me why you chose those things. Like I drew a heart because that's my favorite. It could be my favorite shape. And then I tried to draw a bunny rabbit, and that could be my favorite animal. You can draw your favorite animal. Hmm?
I thought it was a big eared person.
What's that thing in the middle?
Shark.
It's a star. I tried to draw a star.
Where's his mouth?
There's too much talking and not enough writing. Or you can draw some of the things on your teepee. If you want to.
I'm drawing this.
I drew Karami.
Awesome.
Mommy, do I need
When you're done, raise your hand and I'll come get your paper.
I'm trying to draw this.
Done? And your drawings do not have to be perfect because I can draw them. Huh?
It's up there.
Done. Just raise your hand and I'll send you. If we have time later. Can he please hold up stuff? Like sticks? Because this is on my elbow. All right, let's go ahead and review. Let's review. I have my stickers. All right, so what were the names of the 3 types of Native Americans that were in Mississippi? Trinity? Shh. Natchez? Natchez, you got 1. I'm looking for 2 more. Franklin? Chickasaw, okay, and there's 1 more, starts with a C. Tell me, Jesse. Choctaw. Yes.
There's another one.
There's just 3 that we're going to focus on. Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Natchez. Who were the first Native Americans? Or who were the first Americans? I kind of already said it. Tell me. Everybody tell me. Native Americans. So what type of homes did the Native Americans build, Bracklin?
Teepee, a longhouse, I know.
So the types of homes that they built were teepees, wigwams, huts, or igloos. Why did some of the Native American tribes move place to place? Why did they move place to place, Jacob?
Because of hunting.
Because of hunting. Because they what? They're trying to get more food, so they follow their food source. What was their main food source? They hunted them a lot, Levi.
No.
Not corn.
Buffalo and deer.
Buffalo. Now, what was their main crop? You just said it. Corn. So listen, what was the name of the trail that the Native Americans were forced to take whenever they were removed from their land, Olivia? Trail of Tears. Yes. Trail of Tears. So what was the name? This is from your notes. What's the name of the ruler of the Natchez tribe, Braden?
The Great Sun.
The Great Sun.
Bro,
Yeah.
that's not ready at all.
Make sure you study your notes.
I got 2.
All right. This is also from your notes. How many Choctaw Native Americans are in Mississippi right now, Gatlin? 11,000. Yes. All right, listen. So, how did the Native Americans keep themselves from using up all their natural resources? Think of all the ways they used natural resources. How did they conserve some of their natural resources? Lily?
They used the bones for arrowheads. They used the skin for clothes, shoes, and housing.
Hmm?
And they used meat for food.
Yes. I love it.
There's more.
You think there's more?
Yeah, there's more.
Luke, what were you saying?
Every part of the animal.
That's kind of what Lily said, but also somebody said something about arrows. Who said that? What, Jesse? They could reuse their arrows. What else, Bracklin?
They can store their grains in pottery.
Yes. What else, Franklin?
They can use it to make bags.
Yes. Gatlin?
They can take the arrowheads out of the animal and use them again.
Yes. Jacob? Yes. Last one, Avery. Yes. They only hunted animals that they needed, and they used every part of the animal so it did not go to waste. They used compost and crop rotation to keep their soil healthy. All right, this is our big thinking question. Why is it important for us to learn about the Native Americans? Why is it important, Cherokee?
So we can know who brought us something.
Yes, so we can know who brought us here. And we can also, they also can help us understand their history and their cultures. Kiss your brain. Thank you for being such good learners today. Tell me what we learned about today. What did we learn about? Everyone tell me. Of Mississippi. Tomorrow, we are going to learn and kind of review about how we can conserve Earth's natural resources and how we can prevent pollution.
Look at the mini